Meet Kim, a soon-to-be mother, and her husband Jim. Kim and her husband live within a 1-mile radius from Love Canal, which is a neighborhood in Niagara Falls which has been a dumping ground for nearly 22,000 tons of chemical waste. They recently had a child named Pim that was unfortunately born with Down syndrome and cleft lip. Kim and Jim were confused as to why exactly their child had developed these conditions. Kim was informed by her nurse that although Kim was a healthy woman, the environment that they lived in had a major role in the physical defect of their child. Kim and her husband Jim went to the Department of Congenital Malformation Registry and Hazardous Waste Inspection Program in order to figure out what that meant. When Kim and Jim met the head of the inspection program, Tim, he explained to them that congenital malformations are physical defects which may be presented in newborns, causing alterations in various parts of the body, which may include the brain, heart, lungs, liver, bones, and intestinal tract. Tim explained that major malformations are apparent at birth in 3 to 4% of newborns. Factors that have also been known to cause congenital malformations may include exposure to hazardous materials, waste products in the environment, radiation exposure, and etc. And since Kim and Jim live very close to Love Canal, there are many landfills, hazardous waste sites, and chemicals that are considered cytotoxic, meaning they can affect cells and tissues and potentially interfere with newborn growth. Tim also informed the married couple that a total of 34,411 cases of malformations were recorded in the CMR for the 1983 to 1985 and 1984 and 1986 birth cohorts. However, Tim also mentioned that it was unknown exactly to what the exposure was due to each individual, and some individuals may have multiple chemical and/or hazardous exposures. This could be the reason as to why their child Pim was born with both Down syndrome and cleft lip. Tim informed them that their hazardous waste site protection program inspected the fact that while a woman is pregnant, human exposure to waste sites by methods such as inhalation, dermal contact by air, surface water, and etc. may be accounted for in cases like Kim's. Since they live within a 1-mile radius from Love Canal, a neighborhood in close proximity to a chemical waste site, exposure to toxins from the waste site was likely to lead to the physical defect present in Pim. Kim and Jim were very disappointed by this information, but were content with finally being aware as to how this congenital malformation happened in their child. They then immediately moved away to a new home far away from Love Canal. Kim and Jim then made the decision to move to a small apartment in downtown Toronto, Canada, with their daughter Pim. They were so intrigued by the information that was provided to them by Tim that they decided to join a public health campaign that focused on educating others, especially pregnant women, on congenital malformations and sharing their story about their daughter Pim. They educated women on the importance of staying healthy before and during pregnancy and provided their audience with steps that they can take in order to lower the chances of their baby having a birth defect. The first step was not smoking. Babies born to mothers who smoke tend to be of lower birth weight. In addition, exposure to secondhand smoke can harm the fetus. Step number 2 was eating a healthy diet. Eating a balanced diet before and during pregnancy is not only good for the mother's overall health, but essential for providing the developing fetus with essential nutrients for proper growth and development. Step number 3 was to maintain a healthy weight. Women who are over or underweight may experience medical problems. Step number 4 was intake of folic acid. Taking 400 micrograms of folic acid each day can help lower the risks of neural tube defects or defects of the brain and spinal cord. This vitamin may be found in some green leafy vegetables, nuts, beans, citrus fruits, and fortified breakfast cereals. Step number 5 was avoid intake of alcohol and drugs during pregnancy. It is important to make sure that you inform your physician of any medications and herbal supplements you are taking, since they can all have an adverse effect on the developing fetus. Step number 6 is to avoid exposure to other harmful substances, which may include lead, pesticides, and radiation, such as X-rays, which may all harm the developing fetus.
A couple of months have passed and Kim and Jim got the opportunity to work with Toronto Public Health in order to contribute ideas towards prevention and control programs. These programs can be implemented in order to reduce cases of congenital malformations from environmental exposures. Their ideas revolved around effective waste management. There are a number of different methods available for the management and treatment of waste, including composting, minimization, energy recovery and disposal, and recycling. At present, an increasing amount of the resources contained in waste is recycled, but a large portion is incinerated or permanently lost in landfills. By putting more effort into recycling, we can help reduce the amount of waste toxins around the area in order to establish a healthier environment and decrease fetal susceptibility to congenital malformations. In order to reduce cases of congenital malformations due to hazardous environmental exposures, it would be best to consider some primary prevention programs. Options may include teratogen information services and prenatal screening for fetal anomalies. In addition, programs for the detection of congenital malformations at birth, followed by early treatment, are contributing to secondary prevention. Prevention of congenital anomalies requires A. Sufficient epidemiological data on the prevalence and types of birth defects as well as genetic disorders. B. Educating health professionals about the goals and methods of preventing birth defects at low cost but with high impact. And C. Expansion of family planning and improvement of antenatal care, combined with educational campaigns to avoid the risk for birth defects.
Kim and Jim were proud to make such a contribution and continued to bring awareness to the public about this case and continued to reach out as advocates for the Congenital Malformation Registry and Hazardous Waste Inspection Program.
We hope you learned a lot about the case study from this video.
Thanks for watching!
The end.